this is an example of the curriculum and how we develop it. We are doing as of now. For example, I use Excel, and the reason why I use Excel is because it's a book, and you can make a variety of the different slides or sheets on Excel. And so when you present it and explain the curriculum that you're planning at the moment, it's easier to show other departments what you're doing at the moment in the class. Also, you have to consider about the schedule, what kind of materials you're going to use, how many people are going to be in the class. You have to consider the goals, who's going to teach the class. Some classes are going to be small, some classes are going to be bigger depending upon their language skills. So some advanced students will have a smaller class compared to the majority of the students. You also have to consider about the scheduling. For instance, the time frames that we do have on the left-hand side. And when we do have English, on what days that we do have English in 1 week. This is Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Okay. Also, in terms of placement, you have to consider, for instance, we use the ITP for placement, which is the TOEFL ITP. So, and because of that, our placement is based upon these following numbers. Why we do that is because we have grades. And these grades basically determine, as you can see, I didn't write anything here. And the reason why I didn't write anything is because this has basically nothing to do with our university, because this is really low. But we stand here. And so anything above is what we're interested in and how we see things. And so that's one of the reasons why I wrote it in this sense, to show you the difference between private and national university in terms of content, and how we consider grading and how we consider what the goals are for each student, individual student, and also the university. Part-times, full-time, teachers, that's another thing we have to also consider about their schedules, and for instance, do they need PCs, hardware? Also, in terms of entrance exams, placement exams, or another issue that you have to think about. The next video is about evaluation and extracurricular considerations when designing. The Ministry of Education ordered for us to grade students strictly. We don't have the A+ anymore. We basically, the highest grade a student can possibly get in a class is 89%, which is an average A. We have another system called the extracurricular consideration, which is basically grading students for +1, more than what they would actually do in a course. And this is something that I'm going to discuss next, about evaluation. Now, this is the LMS, the Learning Management System that we use here at YNU. It's very convenient. These are all my classes that I have, from listening to reading to my seminar. It has to do with engineers and science fiction. I deal with science fiction. Also my presentation classes, and also my writing classes. To show you like an example connected to my Zoom account. So for instance, for my seminar, this is basically what I teach about science fiction authors, and connected to how it has influenced our society for the engineer students that we have in our class. Usually on the first day, I have a video showing how to contact me on Zoom and how to attend the classes online. I take attendance here. I have a learning chart here, so I can see the students' grades, how many times they have logged in. If they have asked, if I send them any kind of information, I can email them directly here. I can also answer questions. So you can see me answering questions here. Grading system in our university. So for example, you see this is the same as the European sense and the American sense of a grading, or the GPA. You have A, B, C, right? But in Europe and also the United States, you probably have A+ and A- somewhere. Yeah, we don't have the plus and minus. We have this S instead. So it doesn't really make much sense. And that's one of the reasons why even I have problems with this, because I think that it's very difficult to translate the Japanese system into the European or the American sense of what the GPA is all about, because there's a very small variation between the grades. This is basically between 90 and 100. This is basically 89%. So the highest grade you can get in a class or in a course is 89. This S point is extremely strict. You have to do +1, basically an extracurricular activity to actually get to this point. And you have to have the evidence that you have done that. And so what I have done is added extracurricular activities, and so that I could test them with whether or not they had studied this extra. But I basically tell the students that everyone is graded up to 89. So this is basically not mandatory. Up to here is mandatory. Up to the 89, it's mandatory. This in itself is an extra point, and hence if you want to, then you can get the plus or the S mark, but it all depends upon whether you want to or not. Okay. And this is basically self-studying. So you have to prove that you had self-studied beyond the average class. This has been ordered from the MEXT, or from the Ministry of Education of Japan. Now, in terms of grading specifics, how do I do that? Is probably Russian, and so we will do that next. Now, this has to do with reports or any kind of homeworks or tests or anything else. When you click onto this, you can see all my homeworks according to all of my classes. Okay, so including my Eleanor class, where I have my vocabulary and sentence checks before I do my midterm, which is coming up by the end of November. And so I check whether or not they understand or not. Also, I have another vocabulary list for my presentation classes. And over here, I have my writing classes and my Tom Swift homework over here. Now, how would I grade someone? Well, let's check. Let's see. Click. Now, I'm not going to be very specific upon students because this has to do with privacy. So I'm going to cut out a lot of the information with a mosaic. Okay, because it has to do with private information. I hope you can understand. All right. Now, you can see as of now, it tells me information, for instance, what are the best grades, what's the average grade, which is the lowest grade that it is possible that I have already provided to the students. Also, you can see here, these are students that I haven't graded yet because it was late. These are students who haven't handed in their homework at all. These are students that I have that are being graded at this moment. Basically, I haven't reconfirmed it yet. These are the students I have already finished grading, and I will mosaic the information so you can sample. The student names are here, but I'm going to mosaic this. This is how many times they have already handed it in. And so basically they had revised their works. And so that I check and grade them accordingly. Now, for students I have already finished grading, you can see I'm going to mosaic this side here, but there are a variety of grades. As you can see, it's for some are low, some are high. I'm going to cut this out too, because so you can't see, because it's kind of private and it'll be pretty obvious who it was. So, but again, you can see how many times some students have handed it in. So like twice or the first time. Some students are very good, and for the first timers, I was kind of surprised. Many of them did very well. And the reason is something that I will discuss next. For instance, writing is for my writing classes. Usually I use a template to make sure that the students understand the process of writing. And through this, to make things extra, I also teach grammar to make sure that the students understand the grammar while they are actively writing their paper and report for 15. And basically all their homework will become a big, huge 15-page paper. So that way that the students will be learning consistently revising, consistently and yearning to get 100% or an 89%, which is the 100%. Therefore, the students are consistently working toward and providing, effort, putting effort into the work, as well as answering to the goals and expectations of the course. This is the template that I usually use. It's written in English and in Japanese so that the students can equally understand what's going on. Providing different types of guidelines so that they can, at any moment, hand in their papers, for instance, to a conference. Okay, and to teach them how to do title pages, what are the importance of table of contents if they're going to write a book, how to deal with writing with a sample, pyramids, Times New Roman letter sizes, headlines, how to page numbers, how to do references, and so on, by using this template. My evaluation form is on the bottom. So, and I always have the students keep this evaluation form on the bottom of their report so that I can consistently tell them what their problems are by telling this is the problem you have consistently right there so they can see it and they can find and ask me questions if they have any questions so that they can revise it and to make things better. The process of establishing a curriculum is based upon Holland's code. And because it's based upon Holland's code, the process in itself is basically leading toward the student vocation. Hence, you have to provide +1 toward the students and to reinforce learning and reinforce studying and reinforce the effort to do so. By establishing a curriculum and the cooperation with different disciplines as well as departments, you can establish a society with knowledge to pass on to the next generation. Curriculum is not just in education, it's in politics, it's in environment, it's in how we live our life on this earth. Curriculum is like a big, huge building. It is an architecture, and it's an architecture of knowledge. And it's the core knowledge for sustainability. I hope you enjoyed this presentation. Thank you very much for listening. This was Professor Hirona Matayoshi. I work at Yokohama National University, the International Strategy Organization, and English Education Division.